And Israeli soldiers clashed with fighters for Hamas throughout Gaza on Monday, all different parts of the Strip. And that includes the southern border town of Rafah. Israel sent tanks and troops into eastern Rafah last week, despite the U.S. urging it to drop plans for an all-out invasion of that city.
For more on the strained relationship between the United States and Israel at the moment, I want to bring in CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang. Weijia, thanks so much for joining us. So Secretary of State Antony Blinken and National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan both spoke with their Israeli counterparts yesterday. We know tensions have been high between the Biden and Netanyahu administrations. What is communication like between the two governments at this point?
Well, the strain, as you mentioned, has gotten increasingly worse as things have become difficult for President Biden to navigate politically, and as the U.S. continues to publicly call out Israel for its current strategy. But at the end of the day, Lilia, what matters here is whether the U.S. policy toward Israel has changed, and that hasn't really happened. And so you do have these principles, as you mentioned, talking about what they would like the IDF to do, and that includes President Biden, who most recently spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu just 1 week ago. So these conversations are happening, and they never really stopped since October 7th happened between the top officials as well as everyone below them. So there is certainly a lot of communication. But the U.S. is really trying to hammer home that things cannot go on as they are, that, you know, if Israel, in fact, moves forward with that massive ground invasion of Rafah, as Tony mentioned earlier, then the U.S. policy would have to change.
You know, back in the 80s, Ronald Reagan held up an arms shipment to Israel for his own reasons then. Are there parallels here? And as we heard from Antony Blinken on Face the Nation, quoting or paraphrasing from a declassified report, there's an inconclusive report, but that it's reasonable to assess that Israel, possibly with U.S. weapons, violated international humanitarian law in their use. With this strained relationship here, what are the next steps between these two countries? And is it possible that there are further restrictions? I guess this is really the big question. Could we see, a la Reagan, further restrictions in arms shipments from the U.S. to Israel?
Well, the U.S. has said as much, Tony, right? Just about a month ago, it said that if Israel doesn't change its policy, we are going to have to. I think the other big question is what would actually prompt a significant change in the amount of resources and weapons that the U.S. continues to send and continues to ask Congress for money to do. And so that is the big unknown, what that line is. And this administration hates using the phrase red line, but there has to be some sort of boundary and mechanism that would trigger a significant change. But to your point, Tony, even though we heard Secretary Blinken say that in this very important report, what we don't hear is what now? What happens now that things are inconclusive and that there is at least a probability that Israel did not follow the guidelines of using U.S. aid and weaponry. And that has yet to be answered, even though the president and everyone below him continue to say that, you know, if there is this major ground invasion, which appears to be their red line, they haven't said what happens after that.
No.
Weijia, just before we let you go, I understand that this week the Biden administration is kicking off Infrastructure Week, or today they're kicking it off, actually. What does that entail?
Well, first, the name entails some prodding at the Trump administration, because you may remember that there was a point in time during that administration when every week was supposed to be Infrastructure Week, and reporters started joking about it because it never happened. And so the Biden camp is trying to use that to their advantage to say that, look, not only did we have an actual infrastructure week when back in November 2021 we passed a law, but we have launched more than $450 billion worth of projects, and in fact more than 50,000 projects across the country. That includes just some of what you see here, fixing roads, bridges, making sure there are clean school buses for the next phase, port and waterway projects. So the list actually goes on, guys, well beyond this, because they're trying to remind the American public that even if you're not feeling these effects immediately, even if you're not seeing the boon of tens of thousands of jobs, that we have done something and that you will feel that impact. But these projects take a lot of time. But when you're talking about a presidential election in less than 6 months, of course, time is not on their side when it comes to whether people actually feel the effects. So this Infrastructure Week is meant to remind them, at least verbally, that they have accomplished a lot when it comes to getting money out there and creating new projects.
Weijia, will there be any visuals for Infrastructure Week? I seem to recall some trucks on the White House grounds during the Trump administration.
None planned that I know of, Tony, but we will keep you posted if we see any big rigs. I was here for that, and it was quite something. So
my 5-year-old's very excited. He wants to see some trucks at the White House. Weijia, thank you very much.
Thanks.